Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 17th of June and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper, all the articles along with the background and the way forward we are going to take. And you can also download the explainer notes of this particular session from our Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel is given in the description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, let's take the overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important in the today's newspaper. So here we have the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and the first article here we have Union Minister's house torched by the mob in Imphal. So guys, for exam, you are not required to go too much in detail in this particular article. This article is talking about the Manipur crisis that is going on from so many of the days, because this is the clash going on between the Meiteis and the Meiteis and the other tribals. Okay, no need to follow it every day. Then guys, further moving on, Gujarat grapples with destruction after Biparjoy. Okay, so there is one particular article on this particular direction that we are going to see. Then further moving on in this particular direction, guys, further we have these advertisements, city section due to spend these many crore or infrastructure revamp. Nothing much important with respect to the examination. We'll be moving on. Then we have these advertisements, tenders, etc. that have been given. Guys, in you might be having some different edition of newspaper, maybe some maybe Hyderabad edition or Bengaluru edition. So in regional section, largely we don't have that much relevant news. Sometimes they are there, so we will skipping it and will completely be then be moving to editorial section. Now in editorial, we have this particular article on railway safety. Listen to the voices from below. Now this is a good article, we'll take it up, and the article is actually giving a new dimension with respect to this railway issue that has happened, and the attitudinal change it is talking about. We'll see this particular article. The path to a new and imminent US-Iran nuclear deal. We'll see this particular article for the examination. Then guys, here shifting sands. Okay, so the article is talking about the decline in the goods export, all such kind of things. Now I have told you many number of times, guys, that the state of Indian economy is an important thing, but you are not required to track the trends of month by month, quarter by quarter, quarter by quarter data of GST collection, export, import, and all such kind of things. Few days back already we have taken one particular article where the chief economic advisor have provided this particular thing, that for next 10 to 15 years and at least till 2030, India is going to grow without overheating problem. Okay. Then further moving on, mounting tension. So this article talks about the recent communal tensions that are going on in Uttarakhand, fine, where basically the religious clashes have happened and the people from minority religion, they have to flee from their homes. Okay, moving on. After that, this is the ground zero, fine, bleeding blue in Nanded. Okay, so basically guys, this is a ground zero report talking about the killing of Akshay Shravan in Maharashtra's Nanded district has brought forward the tensions between the dominant Marathas and the oppressed Dalits. Okay, now in the ground zero report, basically from the ground, the personal accounts of the people, personal stories, finds, all these details are actually given. Fine. Now this particular article, guys, for the examination is not containing much of the substance, so no need to go too much in detail here. Fine. Moving on. Today is Saturday. On Saturday we don't have the text and context page, which actually contains some good articles for the examination. So the text and context is not there in the today's newspaper. Rights group call for Modi to break silence on Manipur. Fine. Then guys, largely the political articles have been given in this entire section. Here there is this one important article: warming ocean makes it harder to forecast cyclones in Arabian Sea. We'll see this particular article. Fine. Then joy amid Biparjoy, 707 babies born to the women who were shifted. Then guys, further moving on. After that again, here 73 academies to defend NCRT efforts to update the syllabus. So recently we have seen that the NCRT has updated the syllabus, where some of the references of the Mughal rulers have been dropped. Even the Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, fine, there were certain changes and drops that have been made there. So some of them will defend them. We are not required to go in this particular direction. Modi to lead Yoga Day celebration. We'll see this particular article briefly. Then generic drugs for diabetes, gastric issues, their demand has increased. Fine, but no need to go and track this particular article for the exam point of view. American chipmaker Micron milling large investment in India. Okay, now guys, basically understand this particular thing, that the American chipmaker in seeking to invest in the India. Now this is an example of the decoupling and de-risking strategy that USA is taking. Few days back already we have seen the article on the de-risking and decoupling. So from in decoupling, what USA wants to decouple from China. USA wants to detach from China, and from China they want to relocate their industries to some other countries. This is the decoupling and de-risking. And here we can see that Micron is now coming to India, is seeking to invest in the India. It is a part of the decoupling and de-risking strategy of the USA that we have discussed multiple number of times earlier. Then moving on, after that guys, missiles target Kyiv as African peace mission visits Ukraine. Okay, now every day there are one or two articles that are coming in exam. Okay, every day one or two articles that are coming in that are coming in the newspaper on the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, no need to track this particular thing every day. Then further, some GST registration use identity theft. Fine. After that, SEBI issues norms to online bond platform. Then guys, here we have some of the corporate trends etc. that we have, not necessary to go into these corporate trends. Okay, then guys, further moving on in this particular direction, after that we have this sports page. Okay, so usually the science page also comes, but on Saturday the science page is not there, so we will not be able to see the science page also today. So that is all guys about this. And now moving to the next one by one discussion on these particular articles. Now starting up guys, so every class we start with the GS quotation. So today we are going to take the quote from the Potter Stewart. Now Potter Stewart has given a beautiful quote which could be used in ethics GS paper number 4. Potter Stewart says, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Okay, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Now basically guys, when we talk about the rights are legal, rights are constitutional, that are given to everyone. But sometimes simply if I have a right to do certain thing, this might hurt the sentiments of certain communities. So ethics makes us realize that where are the limits of our right. In the name of the rights, people often do a lot of things which should not be done elsewise. And how they will know this differentiation? They will know this differentiation by the help of the ethics. So ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is actually right to do. For example guys, if we take this particular article, understand this particular thing, that recently this particular issue happened, that the Supreme Court versus government controversy started. What was this particular controversy? Basically Supreme Court, for example, recently provided this particular thing, that on the civil services, the elected government of Delhi will the civil services will be controlled by the elected government of Delhi in the case of the Delhi. Then government came out with an ordinance and again provided that no, the power will be in the hands of the lieutenant governor. After this particular thing, many of the articles will return into the newspaper, and in these particular articles it was simply provided that the government though can come out with an ordinance, but was it right, was it ethical to come out with this particular ordinance when explicitly Supreme Court ruled this particular thing? Even the DC Wadhwa judgment's reference was given in many articles, that DC Wadhwa judgment very clearly provided that ordinance can only be brought when there is an urgent situation. Was it really urgent? So simply ordinance power is there, but should you use it? So there comes the constitutional morality. So simply whatever rights are there, fine, you have rights to do certain things, but is it really right to do that in a particular situation? That particular thing is to be that particular thing could be learned by the ethics. Is it clear or not? Then further moving on, warming oceans make it harder to forecast cyclones in Arabian Sea. Okay, so there is some very interesting comment that I am seeing. I think 15-20 comments are there. Sir, आपकी कास्ट क्या है, हिंदू या मुस्लिम? सर मैं नया स्टूडेंट हूँ, आपकी कास्ट क्या है, हिंदू या मुस्लिम? प्लीज़ बताइए, आई एम वेटिंग. आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज़ योर नेम, बट आई डोंट फाइंड दैट हाउ दिस इज़ रेलिवेंट. ओके, द कास्ट, basically I don't believe in these particular things. The thing is that I am an Indian, fine, I am an Indian, okay, and I don't find that there is any identity beyond than this. Okay. Now, moving on. So, warming oceans make it harder to forecast cyclones in the Arabian Sea. Now, this particular article, guys, we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 1, GS paper number 1, Geography. GS paper number 1, Geography. Now, what this particular issue is all about. So, basically, first of all, guys, let's understand the formation of a cyclone. So, basically, guys, we see this particular thing that when the ocean warms and when the warm pocket of water develops in the ocean, so basically the water starts to evaporate, and as the evaporation happens, basically what happens, there is a low pressure area that is developed here. Okay, and as this low pressure area develops, fine, what happens, there is, just a minute. So basically the low area develops here, the winds started to go up, okay, and because of this particular thing, the cyclical or counters or the cyclical formation of the wind pattern develops. Okay, now when we talk about the cyclones, one condition you need to understand, that the heating of the ocean is going to play a very important role. Now we know this particular thing, guys, that India, on one of the side there is the Bay of Bengal, and on other side there is the Arabian Ocean. Usually we have seen that the cyclones have been formed largely in the Bay of Bengal till now, but now we see that there are cyclones that are being formed in the Arabian Sea also, for example the Biparjoy. Now in this particular capacity, Indian Meteorological Department IMD is facing a new challenge. So when we talk about the IMD comes under the Ministry of the Earth Sciences. So IMD says this particular thing, that actually it is taking more time. It is actually taking more time to accurately predict the cyclones that are coming into the Arabian Sea, to predict their direction, to predict their movement. It will take more time. Why it will take more time? This is now the question that we need to understand. Basically, guys, understand one thing. First of all, when we talk about the Indian Meteorological Department, how it gives a lot of the forecast, it gives the lot of forecast on the basis of the prediction models, and these prediction models are actually created on the basis of the historical data, long-term data that is there with the IMD. Okay, for example, guys, IMD has the 100 of years of the data, and on the basis of that particular data these predictions are made. But largely up till now, the cyclones that were there, they were in the Bay of Bengal. So with respect to the Arabian Sea, we don't have that of data, so the predictions cannot be made. Moreover, there are also other geographical reasons. For example, guys, see this particular thing, that when we talk about the Arabian Sea, here the warm water pocket, they are much more deeper than what they are there in the Bay of Bengal. For example, up to 40 meters layer of warm water is there into the Arabian Sea. In Bay of Bengal, that deep warm water pockets are not there. So how these deep warm water pockets will be influencing the cyclones, we don't know that particular thing. We cannot predict that particular thing. Okay, now guys, understand the next issue that is coming here is that basically when we talk about the cyclones formation, cyclones directions depend on two things. Number one, see this particular thing, there are the winds in the upper reaches of the atmosphere. These winds are called as the steering winds. Okay, for example, now here you can see this, there's a cyclone. Okay, so in the upper direction there are these winds that are there, steering winds. They will influence that in which direction the cyclone will move. Okay, they will influence the which direction the cyclone will move. Now basically the problem is that, guys, that see, then after that, so there are the winds, and then there is the heat. Okay, so heat will determine the intensity of cyclone. Wind will determine the direction of the cyclone. Now though problem is that we don't know the pockets of the water, that how deep they are, and as we don't know how deep these pockets of water are, we first of all has a very limited capacity to know about that heat. even though we can know about that heat to a limited capacity, but these winds are often very much unpredictable. These winds are also very much often unpredictable. Okay, so there is some capacity that we can, just a minute, so that there is some capacity that the latter can be captured, that is the heat can be captured, but the wind, fine, their movement often becomes a problem. So therefore there is this issue that is coming with respect to the predictions of the cyclones. Now what this is a kind of a problem, this is a kind of a challenge that we are facing, and it has largely been created due to the climate change that has now become an issue. The heating of the Arabian Sea, it is purely because of the climate change, the average temperatures that have increased. Okay, and many such unpredictabilities will come if we will not control the carbon emissions which are leading to the climate change. Okay, so that is all guys about it. Fine, I hope you have understood it. Now we'll move to the next article. Modi to lead Yoga Day celebration at the United Nations headquarters. Okay, now what this particular article guys is all about, so this article, first of all, it doesn't contains much of the substance for the examination, but we will be connecting it with one very important concept that could be seen for our exam point of view. Basically guys, understand this particular thing, that just a minute, fine, there is the concept of soft power. First of all, what does the power mean? Power means your ability to influence other people's decision. That is the power. Okay, how you can influence other people's behaviors, how you can influence other people's actions, how you can influence other people's decision. This is the definition of power. Power can be of three types. There can be there can be hard power. Hard power is by your strength. Fine. For example, Mao Zedong says that the power grows out of the barrel of the gun. Okay, the muscle power, the strength, fine, that defines your hard power. For example, if I have a gun, I keep that gun on the head of some other person, and I ask that person to do this XYZ thing, that person will do. Why? Because of my hard power. Then there can be the next, economic power. Economic power is by the virtue of your economic resources. For example, I give a lot of money to some person that do this thing, the person will do. This is the economic power. And then the third is the soft power. Now soft power is by the virtue of your aura, by the virtue of your attraction. Okay, now when we talk about the soft power, the country's culture, okay, country's traditions, they play a very important role in defining the soft power of a nation. Now guys, when we talk about India's yoga, diversity, okay, secularism even, okay, presence of so many of the faiths together, it is a type of a soft power. Buddhism is a soft power of India. Okay, so basically we have the soft power. Okay, so basically yoga now has been accepted in the United Nations, that every year June 21 is celebrated as the International Day of Yoga. So the world has accepted the International Day of Yoga. It was accepted in this International Day of Yoga was started in June 21, 2015, and it was taken up after the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution in 2014. Now acceptance of yoga shows that how India's soft power is playing at the world stage. Now the Prime Minister is going on a 2-nation visit from June 20 to 25. He will be visiting the United States and Egypt. Okay, and this particular visit is is a very important visit, because the agreement on defense, critical technologies and all such kind of things would be taken up. Now here, as the Prime Minister would be going to the USA in New York at the headquarters of the UN, he is going to participate in the celebrations on the International Day of Yoga on June 21. Now guys, when we talk about the yoga, the first reference of the yoga is given in the Rig Veda. First reference of yoga is given in the Rig Veda. Okay, and there is also, yoga is also one of the orthodox school of Indian philosophy. one of the orthodox schools of Indian philosophy. Now guys, understand this thing. Indian schools of philosophy, the major Indian schools of philosophy, they are divided in two parts. They are heterodox schools of philosophy, and the other are the orthodox schools of philosophy. In heterodox we have three, that is in just guys give me 1 minute. So the Indian schools of philosophy are divided in two parts, heterodox and orthodox. In heterodox we have three schools of philosophy, that is Jainism, Buddhism and Charvak. And in orthodox schools of philosophy we have the six schools, that is the Yoga, Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, fine, Mimamsa and Vedanta. Okay, so in total 9 schools we have. Out of these 9 schools of philosophy, yoga is also a school of philosophy. Now the word yoga is derived from the word yuj, which means to join or union or to unite. Okay, so what yoga is? Yoga symbolizes the unity of the mind and body, thought and action, restraint and fulfillment. Okay, so this is yoga. Yoga is a holistic approach towards the life. Okay, so this is all about it. Fine, I hope guys that you have understood it. Now moving to the next article. The path to a new and imminent US-Iran nuclear deal. Okay, now this particular article guys we are going to see with respect to the GS paper number 2 international affairs. Now what this issue is all about, before going on in this particular article, we are going to discuss some of the background information that is important. Okay, now basically guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the USA and Iran, relations between US and Iran has been very frosty. The relations have not been good from so many of the years. Now guys, understand this particular thing. First of all, USA even have this CAATSA Act, which stands for Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act. Okay, under the CAATSA Act, USA says that their adversaries are Iran, Russia, North Korea, and any country having any trade or having any economic relations with these three countries. Even USA can impose the sanctions on those third countries also. Okay, so USA believes that the Iran is a very big adversary. Believes that the Iran is a very big adversary of them. Now understand this particular thing guys, that USA has a particular problem with the Iran's uranium enrichment. It has a particular problem with the Iran's uranium enrichment. Okay. Okay, so yes, so when we talk about the US-Iran relations, a particular problem that USA has with the Iran is with respect to the uranium enrichment. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the uranium, so uranium could be used for the multiple purposes. For example, uranium can use for the peaceful purposes. You can use uranium and you can make electricity out of it. Then secondly, uranium can also be used to make weapon. Nuclear bomb, atomic bomb can also be made. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the uranium is to be enriched. For example, if uranium would be enriched till 5%, then that particular uranium can be used for making of electricity and all such kind of things. But if you if you enrich this particular uranium, let's say till 30% to 40%, then it can be used for some other research purposes. But if you enrich this particular uranium to 90%, then it becomes the war grade uranium, and then this uranium can be used to make the nuclear weapons. Now, Iran has carried the uranium enrichment through centrifuges. Through these centrifuges, the Iran has carried the uranium enrichment. Now USA says that Iran is enriching this particular uranium and it might become a threat to the global peace in times to come. For this particular thing, USA has a problem with the Iran's nuclear enrichment program. And what happened basically, because of this particular thing in the past, there was even an agreement that was signed between Iran and basically P5+1 countries, that is JCPOA. This JCPOA stands for Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Under this Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, it was provided that Iran has to immediately suspend their uranium enrichment program. They cannot enrich uranium up to a particular limit. All the new uranium enrichment facilities that they have to open them for the inspection. Fine. So there is the international, just a minute. Fine. Okay, just a minute, I will show you. Yes, so there is International Atomic Energy Agency. Fine, you can see this International Atomic Energy Agency. They have to open up all their facilities for the inspection for them. Okay, so these were all the details that were finalized in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and in return USA will ease the sanctions that have been imposed on Iran. So this deal was there. However, when Donald Trump, now this deal was signed during the time of the Barack Obama, but when the Donald Trump came to the power, Donald Trump withdrew from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and said that this particular deal has far benefited only the Iran. And since then, Iran has again started their uranium enrichment. USA again imposed the sanctions on the Iran. And now guys, understand this particular thing, that as there in the world polarization has happened, we find this particular thing that Russia has turned out to be a complete rebel. Now Iran is cooperating with the Russia. Okay, and Iran is cooperating with the Russia, and there is a possibility that Iran can supply the nuclear weapons to the Russia also. Now USA is worried, and USA has tried in the past to again revive this Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and for that particular thing Vienna talks have also happened, but nothing successful got achieved till now. Now in one more attempt, there is an informal agreement that the USA and informal agreement that the USA and Iran are trying to finalize, and this particular article talks about that informal agreement only. Is it clear or not? Now moving on, and let's discuss that what this particular article actually is talking about now. Fine. So basically here what has happened, so there are these recent reports that have come, and these recent reports are providing this particular thing, that a kind of a mini agreement is being finalized between the Iran as well as the USA. As per this mini agreement, the details are this. Number one, Iran will freeze its nuclear enrichment at 60%. They will not enrich their uranium to 90% because that can be used for making the bombs. Second thing, it will not attack the US military contractors in the Syria and Iraq. Okay, military contractors will not be attacked. This is the second. Third is that it will improve the cooperation with International Atomic Energy Agency. Okay, it will allow the inspectors that they can come and they can verify that actually they are not enriching the uranium to 90% as they used to do earlier. Then fourthly, they will, let me change the pen. Fourthly, they will not provide ballistic missiles to Russia. Okay, as I told you that this was a threat of USA, so they will not provide these ballistic missiles to Russia. And then finally, Iran will also release the USA's citizens that are right now in the custody of Iran. So these US citizens will also be released. So this is what Iran will do. Now in return, what USA will do? So USA has agreed that number one, they will not impose any new harsh sanctions on the Iran. Secondly, They will not seize the oil tankers in the Gulf waters. So you might be knowing that Iran has a lot of mineral wealth, and Iran's economy depends on the oil exports, and their oil tankers, they have earlier been seized by US, but now they will not do that. Then third is that it will not pursue anti-Iran resolutions in the United Nations. And also the USA, this is the most important thing, USA will defreeze the Iran's bank accounts. There is a lot of money of the Iran that has been frozen by the USA, so all that particular money would be defreezed. Okay, and also immediately it will allow the release of $7 billion that are there in South Korean banks and $2.7 billion that are in Iraq. So this is a new money that Iran will get. So therefore Iran had got agreed in this particular thing. Now guys, this is going to be an unwritten agreement, and being an unwritten agreement, the president of USA don't needs to get it passed in the Congress, doesn't need to get it passed into the Congress of the or the Parliament of the US. Okay, so this is something. Now we find this particular thing that Republicans, okay, so Joe Biden belongs to the Democrats. Now the Republicans find they have tried to overturn every resolution that is being proposed by the Democrat, Joe Biden being a Democrat. If this agreement would have been taken into the Congress, then they Republicans would have tried to upturn that, but now it will not happen because it is an unwritten agreement. Moreover guys, as here USA is saying that we will not impose new sanctions, okay, but at the same time the old sanctions also they are not removing, so Congress will not have a problem. Republicans cannot make an issue out of that thing also. Now we have seen already, I have told you this thing, that from a long time USA has recognized that joint comprehensive plan of action in the original form could be revived, but guys, now they want to add even more new points in this particular thing. For example, there is a lot of development that Iran has done on the ballistic missiles. Okay, they say that Iran indirectly supports or directly supports the terrorism. Okay, now point is that what USA calls the terrorism, Iran calls is at the right cause. Okay, they doesn't recognize those organizations as terrorist organization which USA recognizes. So point is that right now they want to sign the joint comprehensive plan of action. US wants to impose many new things, but Iran might not agree with that. So this is going to be an issue. Now basically, whether this particular agreement would survive or whether this particular agreement is a kind of a temporary arrangement. Okay, so in this particular direction guys, understand this particular thing, understand this thing, that neither USA is expecting that it is going to be a long-term agreement, nor the Iran is expecting it to be going to be a long-term agreement. USA wants immediate peace. Why? Because if Iran provided missiles to the Russia, and if Russia used that missile in the Russia-Ukraine war, then it will be a problem for NATO. Secondly, Iran immediately needs money. So therefore Iran is happy, USA is happy, and they are agreeing this particular deal. It might survive maximum till this Biden administration. Okay, fine. So this is something that is there. Now guys, at the same time if you see, recently Iran and Saudi Arabia have also normalized their relation. Iran and Saudi Arabia have also normalized their relation, and that particular mediation was carried by the China, and now USA in a way is moderating the relations with the USA is also moderating the relations with the Iran. So this might be a temporary victory for the Iran that has come. Okay, so this is all about this particular thing. I hope that you have understood this particular article. So that is all guys about it, and now moving to the next article. Okay, fine. Now, okay, so here we have this one article, railway safety, listen to the voices from below. Railway safety, listen to the voices from below. So this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3 infrastructure, Now recently we have seen that the 3 trains accident happened in Odisha, and since then there are many of the articles that have been written into the newspapers, articles pointing out that whose mistake was it, whether the safety is a really big issue in Indian railways. Blame game kind of a thing is going on. Even yesterday we have seen one particular article, and that particular article explained that what are the operational inefficiencies, what are the safety concerns in the railway. For example, Kavach system was not there on that railway. Yesterday's article said that just 4% rollout of the Kavach system has happened. Often the automatic signaling is closed when the when the manual inspections and when the manual repair work is going on, then the point is that many of the station masters, many of the railway personnel, they don't know about the mock drills, they don't know about the safety manuals and all such kind of things. But this particular article is a little bit different article. This article says that okay, all these things have happened, now we need to focus on attitudinal change. We need to focus on attitudinal change. So therefore a kind of a very fresh and a different dimension is being given in this particular article. And understand this thing, that in GS paper number 4 also there is the topic of attitude. There is a topic of attitude, and by correcting the attitude, many problems even in the enterprise such as the railway could be solved. Let's discuss that particular issue. Okay, just a minute. Fine. Yes. So this is article, railway safety, listen to the voices from below. Now first of all, the article talks about that we need to bring an attitudinal change, and the article is also giving the some of the datas with respect to the railway accidents. And it says that first of all we also need to see that condition of the railways have actually improved. Now the article is saying that just in the last decade there were approximately 350 derailments that were happening per year. Okay, so the derailments have declined from 350 per year, fine, to just 22 in 21-22. This is appreciable, fine. Secondly, at the same time there is lot of increase in the freight component that has come, passenger components have come. For example, there is threefold increase in the freight loading. Then there is the doubling of the passenger traffic that has happened. So more passengers are traveling, more goods train are running, and at the same time derailments have come from 350 to just 22. So this is an improvement that has happened. Now further article says this thing, that when we talk about the railways are a huge enterprise that are spread geographically over a wide area. So we know from Jammu and Kashmir to Tamil Nadu to Kerala, and from the west to east, railways are running crisscross across the entire country. And when there is so much big geographical area, there are different departments, different states, different departments, and even we see this particular thing, that there are the regional division of the railways is also there. So every region will have its own language, they will have its own department, they will have their own manuals, they will have their own ethos and culture that are going on in that particular organization. And it is a very difficult task to bring a standardization even after so much of complex diversities that enter. Now the article is saying this particular thing, that there are large number of codes that are there for railways, code for safety, code for efficiency. There are the manuals that are there, which have evolved over different departments over the decades, and we always try to standardize the procedures as far as possible. Also, there are the periodic field inspection that are carried by the authorities at the different levels. But there is one particular problem in the Indian railways, that is the top-down approach, which is based on the suspicion, distrust. For example, guys, suppose this is a top-level official and this is a ground-level inspector or a worker who is responsible for inspecting the tracks, for example, whether the tracks are in good shape or not, whether the tracks have been tempered. Okay, now understand this particular thing, that this particular person at the ground, fine, if he finds some mistake, if he finds some problem, he will always be fearful to report this particular matter to the higher authority. Why? Because the higher authority then will try to find out their mistakes. Fine, for example, that why you did not saw it earlier, how it happened when you were the in charge of that particular place. So there is a lot of mistrust, there is a lot of distrust that is there, a lot of suspicion is there. And even these basically the workers at the ground level who are responsible for inspection, they also develop an attitude of catch me if you can. Okay, so this particular thing leads to a problem where the errors are not reported in times. Lower level workers, they are not even encouraged to report those particular errors in that time. So to resolve this particular problem, there was this confidential incident reporting and analysis system that was developed 3 decades back. Okay, confidential incident reporting analysis system that was developed. And what is the philosophy of this CIRAS system? It is to encourage the lower staff to pinpoint the deviations, to pinpoint the problems, mistakes in the real-time basis. And even there is also the proposal for maintaining the confidentiality of the reporter. For example, if Mr. A, who is a worker, has found some problem, he can report that matter without revealing his identity. Okay, so this particular system is to encourage the expression of the frank views. Okay, but and this particular system is something which can bring an attitudinal change, and at the same time the top level workers also need to see the low level workers. They need to encourage when they are coming out with the problems and deviations. They should not pinpoint their mistakes. Moreover, the article also says this thing, that now the government has introduced the Indian Railway Management Service scheme. Okay, and this particular scheme is going to destroy the loyalty of the department towards the railways. Okay, so this formalization, uniformity has been brought through IRMS. Okay, now basically this is a subjective point. Whether it will happen or not. Okay, that is all about this article. Now moving to the next article. Some GST registrations used identity theft. FM Finance Minister calls for the stronger process. Now, you are not required to go too much in detail in this particular article. Basically, guys, what is happening? Many of the firms are registering themselves as the GST firms. Now, many number of times these firms are the fake firms. Now, I will give you a very simple example. What is happening? Suppose, let's take one example. Suppose I am running a business. Suppose I say that okay, I have this company by the name of ABC. Now basically, guys, under the GST, if you are buying any particular appliance, if you are buying any particular product which you will be using in your business, then you can take the rebate for the GST that you have paid. Let me tell you. Now suppose I am running this particular business, that is the ABC Incorporation, and I have bought the laptop. I say that I will use this particular laptop in my business. Now suppose I have bought this laptop of 1 lakh for 1 lakh rupees. Now when I bought this laptop for 1 lakh rupees, obviously I have paid GST on that also. In this 1 lakh rupees, there will be the 18% GST that is also included. Okay, roughly let's say 18,000 rupees of GST also I have paid. I can claim back that 18% of the GST as my ITC. I can claim that back. Now many people, what they are doing, they are just opening the GST, they are opening the firm, they are getting that GST registered. Why? So that they can claim these rebates, so that they can claim these ITCs. They are making the fake bills. Okay, so point is that finance minister says that basically we need to ensure that the fake firms which are just being created so that they can carry the fake billing. Okay, the fake firms which just want to evade the GST dues, we want to remove them, and for that particular thing we will tighten up the norms. Now how they will tighten up the norms, that has not been provided up till now. Moreover, many different kind of scams, many different kind of frauds are going on under the GST regime. There are many ways by which these basically people who are running the businesses, they are duping the GST from the government. The government has provided that will bring the artificial intelligence, will bringing the machine learning tools to identify where the fake invoices have been generated, which businesses are the fake businesses. Okay, so this is something that has happened, but as of now, no need to go too much in detail in this particular thing. When government will come out with some kind of a new system, when government will come out with some new mechanism to track this, that we will see. As of now, it has said that we want to bring, or we want to come out with the stronger processes. So that is all about it. And now the question for today: in matters of railway safety, there has to be an attitudinal change from the conventional approach of fault finding and punishment to one of shared commitment to ensure complete safety at all levels. Comment. So this will be a 10-marker question. Okay, so that is all for this, and I hope that you have understood it. So that is all for today. Thank you so much.